What's up, my YouTube followers, and hopefully all of the people that are on my TikTok, making it over here as well. Good morning. Do a quick video for you guys. On my TikTok page, as I'd mentioned, I have quite a few people who ask me quite frequently, actually, like how I became a self-aware narcissist. If you're new to my channel, I am a self-aware narcissist. I also have borderline personality disorder, and I do plan on making a video on that because it seems like there's just a ton of people who don't really understand that you can have comorbid disorders when you're a cluster B. It's a well statistically proven fact that many cluster Bs, especially borderlines, have comorbid conditions, and it's very common for people with borderline personality disorder to actually have several different kinds of other disorders, to include not just mental disorders or personality disorders, but substance abuse disorders, things like that. I think the whole cluster B, it's just completely misunderstood in general. Again, I have borderline personality disorder. I also have narcissistic personality disorder, and I also have histrionic personality disorder. So on the cluster B, when you're a diagnosed narcissist, it only takes 5 of the 9 criteria to actually be diagnosed as a narcissist. And it only takes 5 of 9 of the DSM-5's diagnostic criteria to be diagnosed with BPD as well. And a lot of people don't go get diagnosed with 2 or 3 different disorders. Usually what a therapist will do, they will just give you a diagnosis for which one of the disorders is most prevalent in your life. What do you show the most symptoms for? So say, for instance, you had 8 of the 9 on narcissistic personality disorder, and you had 5 of the 9 on borderline personality disorder. In many cases, the therapist will actually just give you a diagnosis with MPD. They won't give you the BPD diagnosis, although sometimes they will. And then also sometimes patients want to really understand what's going on with themselves, so they'll go to another therapist, and then that therapist will give them a separate diagnosis as well. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can get diagnosed. Being diagnosed with a personality disorder doesn't necessarily mean that you are self-aware of that. And, I think, in my opinion, speaking very subjectively here, I think that the reason why that is the case, where people don't become self-aware when it comes to borderline personality disorder, and I think the reason why more people get diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, is because of the fact that people with borderline personality disorder are highly emotionally unstable. And many times people want to know, how can you tell the difference between a borderline and a narcissist? Well, at a layman looking at it, or somebody who doesn't know anything about the cluster B, doesn't know anything about anything other than narcissism, and that's another thing, that's all anybody wants to ever talk about is narcissism, narcissism, narcissism. He's a narcissist, she's a narcissist, she's a covert narcissist. If you get into a relationship with somebody with borderline personality disorder, I can tell you, unless you are very astute to cluster B personality disorders and are very well versed on them and know a lot about the behaviors and what causes them, most of the time when you're with someone who is, say, a petulant borderline or self-destructive borderline, because there are 4 subtypes of borderline personality disorder, when they're with one of those kind of people, they think they're a narcissist, because borderlines and narcissists act very, very similar to one another. And in most cases, you are not going to be able to tell the difference between someone who has borderline personality disorder and somebody who has narcissistic personality disorder. There are a few key things that I've learned to pick up on so that I can tell who I'm dealing with most of the time. And one of the key things that I've noticed different between narcissist and borderlines is narcissists, unless they're a covert narcissist, are usually pretty put together. They usually can hold down a job pretty easily. Well, I say easily, nothing for a narcissist is easy. But they're the ones that will usually have longer relationships, even though they may be abusive relationships. They usually have longer relationships. They also are able to hold a job, it seems, a little better than a borderline can. And they are just more put together emotionally too. And one of the reasons for that is that narcissists actually create their selves, okay? And they create that armor around them, that bubble of protection that they use to defend themselves from the trauma that they received or the neglect when they were children. And then sometimes narcissists are not created that way. Sometimes narcissists are created through just an overabundance of attention and admiration, and that's your spoiled little brat children. Quite honestly, the ones who are just overindulged and made to feel entitled. And so they create that armor of protection around them as well, because they have their parents at home treating them like gods, and then they have the world who doesn't want to treat them like a god. And so as children, they develop into narcissists too, because they have to protect themselves from the outside environment, the outside world, which to them is kind of their trauma. Again, I'm speaking subjectively on that. I can't tell you if that's for sure how some of those narcissists are created. But anywho, back to the question that I usually get from a lot of my TikTok followers. And if you don't follow me on TikTok, I am the Bat Wolf across all of my platforms. But again, there's my ADHD kicking in and me squirreling off into another subject. What I was originally talking about there, and the original question I was talking about from the TikTok followers, is how did I become self-aware? Well, it happened over a period of time, and it wasn't something that just happened overnight. I've went years like this as a narcissistic borderline, and my borderline side is very quiet. I internalize a lot of things, but I've went years like this, and I got into a very toxic relationship with someone, and some of my closest friends that figured out probably years ago that I had some of these patterns and things, when they found out that I had discovered these things about myself, finally, they said, "Oh, wow, it took a bigger narcissist than you to show you what you were doing and what your behaviors were." And they were right. I got into a very, very toxic relationship with someone. She displayed behaviors that I had never seen before. I mean, she was pathological and malignant in many ways. And again, I'm no doctor. I can't be diagnosing people or anything like that. But I will say this, she was on the level, not Jeffrey Dahmer, not the Dom, but she was on the level, okay? Her behaviors were so out in left field, wearing a hockey mask for me, that when we finally did split after getting together, splitting up, I honestly had no idea what the hell had happened. And quite honestly, I was also trauma bonded to her. And, so a lot of times people try to say that you can't trauma bond a narcissist. You can trauma bond a narcissist, but it has to be someone who's able to really be manipulative just like them to get in their good graces enough and get them to fall for them. And then that, kick the dog, pull back the affection tactic of love bombing and punishment, love bombing and punishment. If you do that to a narcissist, it works the same with a narcissist as it does with a normal individual. So through learning and starting to study and starting to read about narcissism, starting to understand narcissistic personality disorder, because that's what I thought she was, and that's what everybody told me she was. They said, "Oh, it sounds like she's a covert narcissist." Well, it turned out later that she wasn't a covert narcissist, but was she? See, I have my own theories on that stuff too, and if you watch any of my TikTok videos, you'll see that I have a lot of the same theories on these subjects as Sam Vatkin. I, a lot of times, believe that borderlines have such comorbid symptoms that they might as well just be a straight narc. They still have the huge abandonment issues, but they act like narcissists, very, very similar to narcissists. And that's how this girl acted, but I had no clue about any of this stuff. So I'm obsessive. Narcissists are very obsessive people. And so I had to know what the hell was going on. I wanted to know why this girl was acting this way. So what I effectively did was started reading books, started watching videos by Dr. Romney, The Nameless Narcissist, Cluster B Milkshake, a plethora of others. I had a job at the time where I literally was doing accounting, and so I could sit around and do accounting work all day long while I had my headphones on and listen to audiobooks, listen to audiobooks, and then I could also watch a bajillion YouTube videos. So I almost got like a master's degree in psychology and cluster B disorders in about 9 months, because I literally every day at work for 8 hours a day while I was doing my job, I was listening to all that stuff as well. And so I read several books, watched a bajillion videos, trying to figure out her behaviors and trying to figure out what the hell she was. And originally I thought she was a narcissist. That's what I thought she was. Now I honestly believe that she is a borderline who has narcissism, or maybe both, comorbid. She also has history. Honestly, she's just like me. She's just like me, except she's way more high spectrum than I am. But that is what caused me to become self-aware. As I was studying these things, as I started looking at the behaviors, I also looked at things like, how does a narcissist react when they've been left? What do narcissists do in this situation, this situation, this situation? And while I was reading all that stuff, I was relating it back to my life and going like, yeah, but I do that. Yeah, but I do that too. But, you know, a narcissist has a shield and an armor of protection around them, and we cannot take accountability. We can't self-reflect in most cases. I did eventually. It took decades, but I finally did. I looked at all those behaviors, related them to my life, and I denied them. Again, as I had for decades prior, I continued to deny them. And I did not take accountability. I did not look in the mirror. I did not self-reflect. I could explain away every single one of those behaviors that I saw in her that were also in me by using autoplastic defenses. I could line my ego and my super ego up perfectly, like every narcissist can. A narcissist can do no wrong. So it wasn't something, becoming self-aware of my disorders was not something that happened overnight. It took months. And when I actually started looking at what she had done and what I had done in my life over the years, and I finally accepted that I was acting exactly like that, it caused a massive amount of ego death in me. Like, it really did. It was, I was depressed, like very, very down in the dumps and depressed for months. I isolated myself. I didn't talk to other people. Most of my friends gone. For a narcissist to find themselves becoming self-aware, many times you have to do what they call a narcissistic mortification. They have to lose almost everything before they will start to actually self-reflect and see what's really going on in their life. And for me, that was the case. I had lost what at the time I thought was the best thing that had ever happened to me. I mean, and it wasn't. She wasn't. She was honestly nothing but borderlines, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, histrionics. They're very, very good at making you feel like a god, making you feel amazing, and then pulling all that away from you. Well, when you do that to a narcissist, when you do what I just described to a narcissist, it will cause narcissistic mortification, and it'll destroy our entire fantasy bubble that we've created about ourselves. I lost my job. I nearly lost my home. I lost time with my kids, nearly lost my car. I mean, I was that close on all of it. And guess what? I didn't lose it all, but she tried to make damn sure I did. And she put me in a state of narcissistic mortification. While I was in that state of mortification, I was trying to figure out how to get myself out of it. And that's when I started studying everything. And that's when I connected the dots. And I had about 1 billion aha moments and found out that I was actually no better than she. So Some people would say that after you come out of a narcissistic abuse situation, that you take on a lot of the narcissist traits. Well, that is completely true. But when a narcissist puts another narcissist into a narcissistic mortification state and puts them through that kind of abuse, a lot of times what it will do is actually just make the narcissist go, wow, how can I be a smart person as I think I am? How can I be this, pardon my French, fucking intelligent, so smart, so intelligent, and not see that they're just like me? Okay, so if you came over from my TikTok page and that was one of your questions, I answered it for you. How did I become a self-aware narcissist? I studied that shit obsessively for 8-9 months straight, 8 hours a day. It was all I could think about. And through learning those behaviors, I reflected those behaviors back to my own life and realized that I was no different. I'm not trauma bonded anymore. And I actually have a clear mind again. And I'm able to go through my life without talking trash about that person. And I wish her well. I do. And she's going to need all the luck she can get, because I highly doubt that she's going to put in half the work I did to figure myself out and figure out what I needed to do. I've been single the whole time. I did try to date a couple of times, and I realized, whoa, I'm not there yet. I have no business putting anyone else into my shit and doing the same things that I've done to people over and over and over in my life. That pattern of narcissistic abuse and that cycle of idolization, devalue, and discard, I did that to every single person in any relationship I ever got into. And I had some long relationships, y'all. Some long relationships. If you have any doubt of how narcissistic I can be and how failed my relationships have been, I've been married numerous times. I've had hundreds of girlfriends. I've had a lot of flings. I literally cannot make a relationship work. I cannot. I'm trying to get there. What do I hope to gain out of my healing process? If I get this one thing, I will be so happy. And it is that I would love to learn how to truly love someone, truly care for them, not put them on a pedestal and idolize them, and then spend the next part of my life with them, devaluing them, taking them off the pedestal, and then emotionally discarding them. Because that's what I do. I'm one of the last people to walk out of a relationship physically, but I'll keep you in a miserable ass relationship with me for years. Okay? When I cut my emotions off, when that little switch flips, you'll leave me. It's pretty much a reverse discard, because everything that I did to get you will fade away and you won't even recognize me anymore. So anyway, that is how I became self-aware. You can leave comments in the comments section. And if you came over from TikTok and wanted to know the answer, there you go. There's the answer. That's how I became self-aware. And if you see anybody else in the comment sections on my TikTok asking that same question, just steer them over here, because I get tired of having to repeat this shit over and over and over again. But anyway, I hope that was helpful. You guys have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching the Batwolf channel. Check me out again on TikTok and Instagram. Peace out, guys. And that was all real talk.